If your struggling learner can read small little words, but completely falls apart when it comes to longer academic vocabulary, this might be the missing piece. Hello, I'm Rebecca the Reading Hacker, and I'm a neurodivergent former struggling reader, helping others to crack the reading code and find confidence in reading. This is part 3 of my Orton-Gillingham or OG drill breakdown. We're going to go over why blending is hard and exactly how to practice it at home. I'm going to give you simple tips that is going to let you do nightly practice with your struggling learner so that they can increase their accuracy when they read. In part 1, we covered the sound drill. Part 2, we built the foundation with the visual drill. Today, we're going to apply it. Orton-Gillingham or OG drills are some simple ways that parents and teachers can practice regularly with students. Blending is hard for many people because it requires so many systems to work together very quickly for it to be successful. For blending to happen, a person has to identify the sound, hold that sound within their working memory, keep all the sounds and the words in order, merge them together, and then find meaning, recognize the word. If working memory is a struggle, blending is going to be a struggle. And this is very common for those with ADHD and other language processing issues. Some of the things you've probably seen are those long pauses, losing track of sounds, or guessing instead of blending. They see that first letter and then all of a sudden they just say this random word and you're like, how did you come up with that? It wasn't even what was going to happen in the sentence. I tell you, sometimes I've seen some students and learners really come up with some pretty out there words they just kind of throw in there because they're trying so hard to keep it going. If blending is not automatic, this creates compensators, which is a very common reading profile. Blending can also be really difficult for those with ADHD, autism, or language processing differences. Because of attention issues, you really have to pay attention to keep that sequence in order. Processing speed, because remember, we got to do it quickly. And auditory processing issues, being able to differentiate between different types of sounds. Because here's the truth, blending is not just blending. It's doing all those things at once and hoping that you recognize the word. Let's move on to a practice that's going to move us past just hoping and into being confident when it comes to blending. Okay, so the blending drill is actually something that really has changed quite a few of my clients' lives, literally. So what we're going to end up doing, we're going to take the deck. Now, as you remember, every learner has a deck, and this deck is cumulative, all right? Which means nothing is in their deck that they have not been taught directly. That's the very important part. Because if you throw something in here they don't know, not going to work. Direct, explicit instruction is really important when it comes to those who are struggling readers. Okay, so we are going to go through how to do the blending drill. Now, one of the things I kind of want to point out that this would be your student's deck. We have our vowels in the middle. Now, we're going to work with short vowels today, but you can do this again with vowel teams if you would like, okay? And we are going to be blending. First thing I'd like to point out is that when I do my decks, I like to put a dot up in the right corner for my cards that are going to be in the right column, just so I don't get them all mixed up. I have to sit there and when I shuffle them out. I actually have clients who will put them in little baggies or use paper clips and whatnot to keep them kind of separated. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start off with S and M for this one. I know this is the name Sam, but a lot of times you'll have regular words or you'll have nonsense words within these as we're going. I like to start off with S and M because it can go S and which are kind of easier to blend together. So what you're going to do is you're going to have this in front of your student, okay? And you're going to have them blend. Now, what you don't want them to do is S, A, because it's going to be harder for them to really put that together. You're going to want them to take a breath. Sam. And then Sam. Really pull those letters out. Okay? And then here's the genius of the blending drill. Then what you do, once they say that correctly, you just flip the card. And here we have a nonsense word. This is not a real word. So we have sab. Sab. All right. And with those ones that go b, or like with T it goes t, or P that goes p, really you can have them just punch it out, which is kind of how I tell them that. The older kids kind of like to see me punch it out. It's kind of funny. I guess you got to be there. But yes, that's how we're going to roll. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep changing it. And you can also change your vowel. Sib, sib. Okay. Again, remember, make sure you are clipping that sound. I know we spoke in another video about that. You're not going to go b, all right, or s, because as you're blending, you want to make sure you're not putting a bump within there. Okay. Now, this is starting off with something we call CBC. All right. It's just 3 letters. Now, you can add things on as you go. If you're working with R control, you can add on an ER and have them do that. If you're working with AR, you can put that in there as well. Something I especially like to do with older learners, because that's my sweet spot, okay, is I like to teach them morphology, which is prefixes and suffixes, okay? So I took 2 of the most common ones, all right? Now, when I teach them the meaning as well, because that is also going to help them as a struggling reader. But we have this one, miss, which means not, and meant, which turns a word into a noun, okay? And so what we're going to do is I'm going to put it on the end here. I'm going to put it on the end here. And just so you're aware, when I go and I do my sound and my visual drill, my morpheme deck is in there as well, okay? Especially for older readers. So I will get them to go with this. They'll go missibment, missibment, okay? And they're just making up nonsense words that are longer. And you can actually get this to go very, very long. Some people might call this a version of word ladders. Totally fine. And if you want to make up your own beforehand, that works as well. I just want to let you know this is something you can do easily on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. Have them do a couple. Again, Orton or OG drills should not be doing 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You should be practicing 5, 10, 15 minutes a night and just get them blending. So let's talk about correction, all right? Because you're going to have your learner who's going to struggle and maybe say the wrong sound, all right? So the way that we do a correction, and I train my clients and the students I work with right away, okay, is let's say they're saying this, and let's go ahead, let's take this down. And let's say they're saying this and they say the wrong middle sound, okay? Let's say they say eb instead, seb. All right, first thing I do is I say first sound, and so I alert them that there is an error somewhere, okay? I automatically go right to where the error is. When I say first sound, it just means, hey, I need you to try it again, all right? Kind of keeps the whole, oh, come on, you can do it, you know, kind of thing out of it, but it just gets people into a kind of a pattern with that. So I'll go first sound, and let's say they go eb. Let's say they just say it again. Then I go second sound. And I take them all the way through. So we go ib. And they go, oh, sib. Okay, here you go. So remember, we go first sound for correction, second sound, and then if they really struggle, then you take them all the way through. All right, we don't want to give them all of it. We want them to kind of work through with their working memory and do that retrieval. Because remember, that retrieval is not as quick as it should be. And that's what we're trying to practice. We're really trying to practice them retrieving quicker. That sound symbol correspondence. If you're interested in me doing a video about how I do morphology within my drills, feel free to drop a comment below. I have found that this has increased my older learners' reading so much. Because what you're doing is you're leaning into their strength of memorizing small words. All right. And I do teach these in an orthographic manner, so I can kind of show you this. So if you're interested, please make a comment below and we'll go through that. So who is this for? This is for anybody, really. Anybody who's learning to read. Right now, I'm working with some clients that are older, and I'm teaching them the alphabet. And we're doing blending cards. We're doing the sound drills with that. But this can be especially powerful for struggling older learners, all right? Because let's just point this out. Nonsense words are very important because longer words are made of them. Let me show you. All right, check it out. We have fantastic. Fantastic. All right, so breaking this down, we have a word in here, TAS. TAS is not a real English word. It's a nonsense word. And so what we've come to find is that, yeah, A lot of kids can do K through 3 phonics. They can read smaller words. They can memorize. They're great compensators. They are survivors. If you're a struggling reader, you're a survivor. And I know you're a survivor because you've gotten through life and you've gotten through what you needed to do by figuring out the supports you needed. You learn how to survive in your environment. Memorization. But unfortunately, you can't memorize all the big words. And there are some words out there that have 6 to 7 syllables and they're very long. And even I struggle with pronouncing them sometimes. So this really shows us, one, if they know the alphabetic code, if they know that a letter makes a sound and you blend it together and you can hear that. Okay. And it also helps them chunk and break it down. There are a lot of people out there who are against using nonsense words. And I'm just going to tell you, working with older readers, which is my sweet spot, it's what's really changing lives. It really is. Because once they got the code, they're able to blend almost anything. But as I will show in future videos, decoding and blending is not the only thing you need to read. But it's definitely a very important first step, and we need to be assessing that and helping struggling older readers if they can't read the words. Because if they can't read the words, then they can't understand anything that they're reading. And that just creates more cognitive overload, frustration, defiance, and shutdown. Honestly, would you want to be trapped somewhere where you couldn't read any of the words and that's all you had to do all day long? Sounds miserable. 5 to 10 minutes to help your kid each night, that's real parent power. If you want to get all the Orton drills down, make sure you watch part 1 and part 2 in this series. Make sure you subscribe for practical, hands-on things that you can do to help struggling older readers. When we give parents and teachers the tools to help our kids grow and practice, anything can happen. So go ahead, crack the code, and unlock the reader.